Hello! In this video we are going to take a look at the different ways to make an order in the system and different options to process these orders in the system. So, first of all, the client can search spare part here using the search bar. The search bar can work and search for the spare parts by the part number, by the name and by the brand and by VIN number. In order different options for the search to work in the system, we should turn them all. For that, we are going to the administrative part of the website, settings, general settings of the online store, client part, and here we can see search sources. Right now the search bar can search only by the part number, but if we turn them all on, the system will be able to search by the part number, brand and the name, and VIN number. That's it. So we turn them on and save the settings. Now we see the search bar changed a little bit. We see that it can search by the part number, brand, by name and by VIN number. So this is the first way and the most direct way to find a spare part. For example, if the client knows the part number, he can write it here, choose the manufacturer of this spare part and see the prices. This is the first way. The second way, the client can use product catalogs. Here he can use different filters. He can use the search bar in the catalog and find the necessary detail. In case we have the prices in the catalog itself, then the client can press the button Add to Cart and proceed with making the order. If we don't have any prices here, then we can turn on a special button called Search Prices. For that, let's go to the administrative part, to the section Catalogs, Product Catalogs, find on Catalogs, here. For example, let's turn off this option, Price. Now we don't have the prices, and here I have the button Learn the price. If the client clicks on this button, the system will take this part number and the manufacturer and will go to the search. Learn the price. That's it. Right now I don't have the spare part in my stock or in the price list of my supplier, so the system said that no results were found. The next option. The client can search using the original catalogs. The idea will be the same as with product catalogs. The client can find the necessary part there in the catalog and press the button Search Prices. It's not possible to display prices directly in the original parts catalogs. Only the button Learn Prices. Another way to find the necessary part is VIN request. Here on this template of the website, default template, the quick VIN request is not available by default. This request is available on the templates cube and future. Let's turn on these templates and see how it works. Now our template is cube, and here we have this option VIN request. For example, if the client doesn't know how to search the part number, he doesn't know the part number itself, he can leave his contact data, for example his phone number, information about his car, and leave the information about the details that he needs. For example, he needs a filter. Then the client have to enter the text from the image and send the request. VIN request is successfully submitted. This request goes to the administrative part, to the manager of the online store into the section Online Store, VIN requests, pending requests. Here we can see all the information that the client left. Here, pressing the button Response, we can see the information about the car that the client left and his contact number and the item that he needs. The manager can find, in that case, the spare part for the client himself, using different catalogs, using his personal experience and knowledge, his expertise in the sphere, etc. After he finds that a necessary spare part, he can leave the answer. Press the button Add, and for example, the manager found the information that he has this filter. The part number is KL9, manufacturer, for example, Malais, the name of it, filter, price, for example, $2, quantity 1, and for example, it is in stock. And after that, press the button Submit a request. If the client left his email, we can click the button Inform the client about the response. That's it. In case the client left his phone number, the manager can call to the client and tell him that he found the necessary spare part. This is the VIN request. The same request we can also leave on the template default, but this option is available only for authorized clients. This option will be available in his personal profile. Now let's register a new client on the website. We will make a few orders. One order will be for the spare part from the stock. Another order will be from the price list of the supplier. Spare part that we do not have in our own stock, and before giving it to the client we will have to order it from the supplier. So let's register a new client. Press the button Registration. Here the client can choose the way to register. For example, he can register as a company or as an individual. For example, we are going to register an individual. Country, for example, United Kingdom. The region, city, the name, his surname or last name, his phone number, his email. Also, here in this section, he can choose the retail outlet to which he is going to register. As you can see, here we have many mandatory fields that the client has to fulfill. But we can change this client's form. For that, let's go to the administrative part, to the section Settings, Settings of Form Fields, Form, Client Form, Apply. Here we have all these fields, and here we can decide which fields are mandatory, which one are required to be fulfilled, which one are optional, and which of them we want to display on the form or not. For example, let's change the geography field. Here we are going to say that yes, we want to display it, but it's not required. The same for the surname. Let's display it, but not require. If the client wants to leave this information, he may. If he doesn't want to, he may leave this field empty. Like this. Let's check if anything changed. Now we see that the geography is not required anymore. Surname is not required anymore. Now the required fields only the name, phone, email, and the retail outlet. So let's fill them. the phone number, the email of the client, and the retail outlet will be head office. Then the client can come up with a login for the website and the password. Register. That's it. The registration was successful. Now the client can enter his own profile on the website. Another way to register a client is to register it from the administrative part, in case when the manager wants to or needs to register the client himself. For that, we are going to the administrative part, to the section Online Store, Clients, Client List. Here we have our new client that we just registered. Here we can press the button Edit and edit any information about this client that we want. For example, we can change his geography, etc. Everything we can change here. And we can add a new client. Just press the button Add a new record and insert all the necessary information in the fields. As you can see, here we also have required fields. You can also change that in the same section, Settings, Settings of Form Fields, Client Form. Here in the option Required, we can decide if it's required or not in the client's part and administrative part. Let's go to the profile of the client. What a client can do here. Here he can see the information about the manager, about the retail outlet, his contact data. Here he can also change the contact data. If you want to forbid your clients to change the contact data, you can always turn this option, Settings, General Settings of the online store, Forbid editing personal data. Here the client can change his password, change his reference details, his full name, his address, his TIN, or in case it is an organization, we have more fields. Information about his preferred methods of payment and delivery, for example, cash payment and self-delivery. Here he can also add the information about his car. This information about the car will be used in VIN requests, and in every time the manager will have to find any details for the client. For example, VIN, information about the car, and the configuration about the car, etc. Save changes. Now we have this information here. Here the client can decide if he wants to be informed about different news, special offers, etc. Here he can add the delivery address in case he's going to use the delivery option. And the address itself. Zip code, additional information. Submit. The same information can be added by the manager of the client. Here in the administrative part, in the section Online Store, Client List, we can choose the necessary client and add all this information. Add the information about the payers, information about the address, about the car, etc. For example, the address, press the button Add and add the address. Here we also have the option to recalculate the balance of the client, log in the client's part, in the profile of the client, and also we can replenish the account to the sum of the total debt. Here we can decide how much money we want to put on the client's account. Here in the section Orders and Documents, the client can see all the order that he made, the whole order or items in order. Here he can use different filters. Here he will see all the documents that were made for him. Here the information about his balance. Now we have no money on the account. Here he can make a VN request. Here in the archive of the VN requests, it can also, this information also very useful for the manager, his history of the requests and additional information, help. You can fill here any information that you want. Now let's make an order. And first we are going to search for a spare part that we have in our stock. Let's check what we have in stock. Stock balance. Here, for example, this spare part we have in stock. Let's search for it. Here we see that it's available. We have two different offers, one in 10 pieces, another one 8, and the price differ. For example, let's take this one. We can put it to the cart. Here we can add a comment for the manager. Here we can cancel the order and confirm the order. Let's confirm it. The information has been already filled because we make this order from the personal profile. In case the client hasn't registered yet or hasn't authorized yet on this step, the system will ask him to fill this information and to register first. So here we choose the options of payments and delivery, and here we also have an interesting option, check the order. In case the client is not sure if the spare part will fit his car, in that case he can ask the manager to make sure that the spare part will fit, for example, to his car. Place the order. Every order has a number, and here is a number. K means that the order was made in the client's part by the client himself. 1 means the number of the retail outlet. This number means the number of the order in the system, and here is the number of the client in the system. The order goes to the administrative part, to the section Online Store, Orders, List of Orders. Here we can see the whole order, the information about the client that left the order. Here, pressing the button Edit, you can see the full information, including the information about the delivery address. And here we can also see the request for the check of applicability. The manager can check this information, and after he checked it, he can choose the action cancel the demand to check for applicability. That's it. Now we can see that the applicability was checked by the admin at this date, at this time. Here, if we press at the number, we can see the items in this order. And here we have some additional options. For example, here we can replenish the balance of the client. We can notify a client. We can print different documents. For example, the order form here. Like this. If we want to process the order, we go to the section Items in Orders. We work on every items separately because every order can contain different items, and these items cannot be processed simultaneously. For example, one item is in stock, another item needs to be delivered first to our stock. So we work on all of them separately. Here up above we have the filters. We can filter the whole list of our items in the online store by different parameters. For example, by the supplier, by the client, by the number of the order, by the category of clients, by the status of the item, etc. Use any that you like. Here we have the whole information about the item. Here we can see the client, the number of the order, the name of the spare part, the part number, manufacturer, the price, quantity. Here we see the information about the debt of the client. Now we can see the client hasn't paid yet and he has a debt. And right now the client has no balance. The supplier of this item is the head office. Any comment the client has left. Right now we see that there is no comment from the client. Here this table can also be edited. For that we can go to the section Settings, Settings of columns in sections, and find the section here Clients Order Items. Here we can decide about the position of different fields in the table. We can change it, and here we can decide if we want to display this or that volume in the table. For example, let's turn off the comment. Press the button Edit. Displayed? No. Like this. And let's go back to the section Online Store, Orders, Items in Orders. Now we don't have this comment here. Now we have only manager's comment. And here we also have very important number. This is a reference number of this position, of this item in the order. It's always individual, it's always unique. And here in this section we have recommendations about this item. What we see here. Here we can see that the item had the weight. The coin means that this item needs to be paid for. The payment is required. And here we have the picture of a warehouse. It means that this item is in stock. Here we can see the protocol of different operations over this item. Since we have this item in stock, then we can give it away to the client on the spot. Let's change the status to, for example, arrived in the office. Now, if we will go to the profile, here we can see that the status of the position has changed and the client has been notified about the fact that the item is waiting for him in the office, in the retail outlet, so he can come pay for the item and take it away. For example, the client has come and is ready to pay for the position. So we can press the button coin, payment type, for example, he paid in cash, submit the request, and now we can ship it to the client and put a new status, for example, issued. Apply. Now we have to go to the list of bills of lading and post the receipt, so the system can charge off this item from the stock. Post the document. The document has been posted. If you go to the stock balance, we will see that now we have only 7 of these items, and if you go back to the section items in orders, we will see that the position has disappeared. We can find this position now using the filter as a final status of the position. Apply. Here it is. We have only 2 types of statuses in the system. One of them is active. If the status is active, it means that the position is still in process. We're still working on this position. For example, we are about to send it to the supplier, or anything else is happening with the position. If the status is final, it means that no work is required anymore over this position. It was given away to the client, for example, or we refused to deliver this position to the client on some grounds, etc. Now this is how we process an order from our own stock. Here we can see different statuses. These statuses exist by default. If you want to create your own status in the system, for that you can go to the section reference book, order statuses. Here we have all the default versions, and here you can add a new record. Create a name, for example, order to the supplier. The color, for example, gray. Here you can even choose a picture for it, and here you can decide if the status is final or not. For example, no. Submit. Now we have this new status, and here in this section, items and orders, we see our new status. Now, if you go to the client's part, we will see that the spare part was issued, and here in the profile the client can see the documents that were created for the order. Here he can print it, and the same documents will be available here in the administrative part, online store, documents. Here all the documents that were created. Here you can print them, look at the contents, etc. So now let's make another order for the item that you don't have in your stock and you will need to order from the supplier. Add it to the cart, confirm, place the order. By the way, at this step, by default, your client can withdraw the selected items. For example, he changed his mind and decided that he doesn't want this item. In that case, he can withdraw selected items. If you do not want your clients to be able to withdraw selected items, then we can use the section settings, general settings of the online store, client part, status, enabling a cancellation request. right now we can see that if the position is in status order is placed, your client has this possibility to withdraw. If we turn it off and save the change, let's see what happened in the client's part. Now the client doesn't have this option anymore. So here in this section you can decide on which statuses your client will be able to cancel the order. So the order is placed. Let's process it. Items in orders. Here, by the way, we have the button added, and here we can change the information about the item. For example, we can change the quantity, we can change the price, and the client will be notified about this change. We can change the delivery term, etc. All the notifications will be sent to the client. Here in this section, settings, general settings of the online store, mail out settings. Here in this section mail out settings you can decide about which changes you want to notify your client. By default the client is notified about every change on the item. Here you can change it. For example, we want to notify the client only about the change of the status. What status? For example, as soon as we change it to processed, to issued, or order is placed, then the client should receive the email notification. And here we can decide on behalf of what manager the client will receive it. On behalf of the manager of the client, on behalf of the administrator of the retail outlet of the system, and on behalf of the head of the retail outlet. That's it. Here you can decide on which type of changes you want to notify the managers of the online store. By default they all are disabled, and here you can also change it. Let's go back to the items and orders and process our item. Here, as you can see, we don't have anymore this picture of a warehouse. It means that we don't have the item in stock. We have only coin. That means that the item requires the payment. If we don't have it in stock, we can order it from the supplier. So choose the action, order to the supplier, and change its status to which you think fits the most. For example, ordered to the supplier, the status that we just created. Apply. Now we can see the document of the order. Here it is. And if we have the email of the supplier in the system, here in the section work with suppliers, list of suppliers, here if we have the email, the system can send this document, this order, to the supplier's email. Just press the button send the order to the supplier by email. After we order the position to the supplier, we can see it here in the section work with the suppliers, orders, items in orders. Here we can see this position that we order it, and here we also can see the coin that the payment is required. It means that we haven't paid to the supplier for this position yet. So here, for example, we can press the coin in case if we paid this item to the supplier. For example, we paid him by the money transfer. Submit. Now, let's imagine that we sent this position, this order to the supplier received the order and processed this order. The item arrives to our office, we received it. In that case, we need to go to the section work with suppliers, orders, items in orders, and record the arrival. Change the status, for example, to arrived in the office. Back to the list of bills of lading, we should record the arrival, post the receipt, now we have it in stock. So if you go to the stock balance, we will see our position here. We have this record in the system. And now let's go back to the items in orders. Here is the position. We can ship it to the client, change the status to, for example, issued, to the list of bills, post the receipt to charge off it from the system, and the payment. That's it. The item was processed. The order was processed. Now we can a little bit simplify the whole process. What can we do? In the section settings, action settings, use the set items in orders. Here in this section we can bind different statuses to different actions. In that case, every time we perform an action over an item, the system will automatically set the status for the action. For example, for the action ship, let's bind a status issued, like this. Then to the action order to the supplier, let's bind status ordered to the supplier, etc. You can bind any status with any action at your will. Also, in the section settings, general settings of the online store, administrative part, we can turn on the option automatically record the shipping document when shipping order items. Say yes. In that case, we will not have to record the charge off of the items. Let's make another order and let's see if everything worked. Add to the cart, confirm, place the order. Items in order. Here we have our position. Let's make the payment. Now, order to the supplier. I'm not choosing any status. Apply. Now we see that the status was set automatically. Then, for example, the supplier received our order, processed it, sent it to us, and we should record its arrival. Let's go to the section work with suppliers, orders to suppliers, items in orders. Record the arrival, post the receipt. That's it. Items in orders, ship. And now, as you can see, that the consignment notes are successfully posted. So if I go to the list of bills, I see that the document has already been posted. I don't have to do it myself. The item was processed. Let's see some more. Let's make another order. Confirm it and place. Now, your client has this option withdraw. selected items. Cancellation request. So if we go to the administrative part, we see the request for the cancellation. If we agree, we don't have anything against it, then we can change the status to client's refusal. That's it. Here is the position. And in the client's part, the status has also changed. In that case, we don't have to do anything else with this item because the client refused to buy it. Another option that the client has: return. For example, the client bought this part from you, and the next day he comes back and wants to return this item for some reason. So he can press the button here, return goods, select the reason of the return. For example, the item doesn't fit, add any additional information and add a picture. Submit the request. Now we see the return request. Let's go to the administrative part and see the return. The same section. So if we go to, if we press the button requests, we will go to the section return requests. The same section is available here in the online store. Return requests. The same section. Here we can see the information about the client that made the return, information about the item in the return, any comments, additional information, and if the client sent a picture, here we will see the picture. Here we can start a conversation with the client. Send the message, and here we will see a new message. Like this. So we can chat with the client this way. Or of course we always have the number of the client. We can call him and discuss everything in detail over the phone, for example. Then we can press the button edit and change the status of the request, for example, to approved. Leave the official response, for example, approved. You can come to the office for a refund, for example. Submit. Now we have the button client's return. So we press the button. The system automatically replenished the client's account, returned the money to the client's account for this item, and created the documents of the goods arrival. Here the list of bills of lading. Here we can post the receipt, set the margin for the item, and post the receipt. In this way we returned this item to our own stock. Here in the list of returns we can see the history of the returns. We also can print different documents, see the contents, etc. Now here, items and orders, we will see them with a final status, client return. That's it. In case, for example, if your client doesn't have the direct access to his personal profile, for example, he came to your office with this item and asked for the return, then your manager can create this request. Here, in that case, he will need to find the item that the client wants to return Here he can use filters for that, for example, filter by the client, filter by the name, etc. And for example, he finds the necessary spare part, the necessary item, and here he can choose the action return request and change the status, for example, to return request. Apply. Now we see again the notification about the request. It's available here in the section return. Here is our new request. We can process it here in this section, or we can finish it here in this section. For example, if it was approved, we can change the status, for example, to returned is confirmed. Or if we don't need this step, we can use the action client's return and change the status to client's return. Apply. Go back to the bills of lading, post the receipt. Now we see that the request was processed. Another option to make an order in the system is when your manager creates the order for your client. Here in the search bar, the manager can find a necessary spare part, add it to the cart, confirm the order, choose the client, and place the order. Now we can see that the number of this order contains this special letter A. It means that the order was made in the administrative part. So let's process it. Let's ship it. And take the money. By the way, now our client has some balance, has some money on his balance. In case if we want to withdraw some money from his balance to pay for this position, we can choose special action, make payments. Now we can see that the balance is 0 and the client still has the debt for the item. Now we can use a coin. For example, let's say that the client paid by his credit card. About the returns. Here in section settings, general settings of the online store, work with returns. Here we can choose different statuses that enable the product return request. So by default it's status issued. Of course you can turn it off. In that case your client will not be able to make any request for the return in the system himself, or you can change it to different statuses. Here you can set the period after which the return is not available for the client. For example, in 10 days the button return will disappear from the client's part, from his personal account. Here you can decide what status will be set for the position after the client makes the request, and here you can set the fee for the return by default. For example, 10%. Every time the client makes the request and we confirm this request, we return this item to our stock and give the money back to the client. The system will keep 10% of the sum on our account. Another topic to discuss is different types of payments in the system. By default, in this section, we have only 3 of them: cash, money, and cashless payment. Here we can add different types of these payments, including different online payment systems. Let's press the button Add, Model Type. Here we see different payment systems available in our system. For example, PayPal. Here we have some different settings for this payment system, such as we can decide will this payment system be available for the individual persons, for companies, is the payment method by default for everyone or not, for which domain this payment system is available, for which retail outlet it will be available. For example, if we choose the head office, in that case only the clients of head office will be able to use this system. If we haven't chosen any options here, it will be available for all. Here we can set the payment system commission and the type of this commission. Here we can assign the currency for the system. Submit the request. Now, generally the process of adding a payment system looks this way. First of all, you have to go to this payment system office and make an agreement, an official agreement with them. Sign different papers, pay for the services, etc. After that, this payment system will provide you with all the necessary data that you should put here in Parts.Resource system. Here in the option Settings of the merchant account, you can add the information provided to you by the payment system. Here, for example, PayPal. In case with PayPal, here you will need to insert the seller's login, the command for the payment if necessary. Here you can turn off the demo mode and choose the option for verifying the shipping address. That's it. So here you only need to put all the information that was provided to you by the payment system itself. I'm going to use Tradesoft test system. Here we don't have any options to add, it's just testing system. Now let's make an order in the system and pay for it online. Add to cart, confirm, payment method. I'm going to use this one, Tradesoft test system. Delivery, for example, let's choose freight company and add the address. Now the order is successfully placed, and here you can see this option. You selected the payment method, this one, pay for the order online. Here the client still can change the payment method. Press the button pay. After the client presses the button pay, he will be redirected to the special secured page of the payment system, where he can leave all the information about his credit card, for example, and make the payment. Like this. Now we can see that the client has no debt for this position. And in the administrative part, in the section items and orders, we see that there is no coin. It means that it has already been paid for, no debt. And in the section list of orders, here we see the information about the delivery address. Further, we can process the order the same way as we did with the previous orders. Or we can do it another way. For example, we can see that we don't have this position in stock. There is no warehouse sign here. But anyway, I don't have to use this action, order to the supplier, or any other action in the system, in case if I don't want to. For example, if you have your own accounting system where you do all these actions, then you can do all the actions there in that system. Here you can only change statuses so your client can see what's going on with his positions. For example, let's change the status of this position to processed, so we notified our client that we processed it. Then let's change the status to, for example, arrived in the office, and now to issued. That's it. We processed the order. It's not obligatory to use all these actions that we have here by default. It's not obligatory. But in case if you do not use them and you use, for example, only change the status option, here in that case the system will not be preparing any documents for these orders and these items in orders. Also, if you do not choose the option ship in the system, in that case you will not be able to make the returns in the system. The logic is simple. You cannot return the items that were not shipped previously. That's the idea. So you can choose any way of processing the orders that you like the most, that fits you the most, that you see the most simplest for you. Now, since we have a payment system, an online payment system, now we can see some other options. For example, in the client's profile, in the section balance, it has this option, recharge the balance. Let's press it, choose the payment system. Payable amount, for example, $100. Now the client has the money on his balance here. Also, here the section client list, we can replenish his balance. $200. If we don't want the client to be able to recharge his balance himself, we can turn off this option. For that, we are going to the section settings, general settings of the online store, settlements and pricing, allow online balance recharge, yes or no. Let's say no, and let's go to the client's part. Now we see that the option to recharge has disappeared. Here in this section, settlements and pricing, we have other interesting options that you should check out. So this is a general idea of how we make orders in the system and how we process these orders in the system.